Another season is upon us. Freshmen arrive wide-eyed with dreams of future glory, while seniors prepare for their last chance at immortality. There are only a handful of these opportunities in a man's life, a handful of chances to distinguish yourself from the rest. It's on these fields where history is made, where legends begin and heroes triumph. Traditions tell the story of what you represent, of those that forge the legacy you uphold. When you come charging out of the tunnel, 100,000 people will be watching your every move. How you respond to that pressure is what defines you. These are the moments that reveal your toughness, your determination, and your pride. The Roughnecks on the Sooner Schooner. Ralphie charging out of the gate. And Chief Osceola planting his spear. The time has come. Your time is now.
You know what's crazy is we just had a football championship game yesterday, and the crazy thing about it is when the halftime show was the most exciting thing to talk about, that's when you know you're down horrendous. And you know what? That couldn't happen in our sport. I don't know if you would agree with that, AT, or not, would you?
100%, man, 100%. I mean, the little 15 seconds of Fernando Mendoza running in, taking the back shots, as he called it, that was more exciting to me than the entire NFL. Yeah, balls, right? But that was his words, not mine, just so you know. But that was more exciting to me than the entire game. So, yeah, couldn't happen in college football, man. Just couldn't happen.
Yeah, because I remember my wife, she looked at me in the eye midway through the second half, and I'm done. I'm done. I'm bored. I'm going to bed. Couldn't be our sport. Welcome everybody to College Football Red Zone, your exclusive home for 7+ hours of commercial-free college football. And even though we are in the passive part of the college football season, I have a ton of notes for tonight. He has a ton of notes tonight as well. We got some new kids on the block. What's the ramifications of that? We're going to dive deep into that. And then speaking of diving into it like a Trey Songz musical, one thing that I got to say as well, we got some questions that you had in the mailbag. We definitely wanted to go ahead and address them here tonight. So thank you guys so much for tuning in on a slightly warmer Monday night. And I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. If you're enjoying yourself, make sure you do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, join by my man AT over at Tampa 2 College Football, man. Welcome back to the show. Always welcome, a friend of the program. Glad you're here, man.
Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. Wouldn't want to do anything else right now than talk college football, talk about NDSU. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Got a couple questions to answer. So what could I be doing that's more fun or more exciting than this right here, right now? So
exactly. See, AT's got the right idea. And those of you that are watching, whether it is on Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch, you guys have the right idea as well. You're at the right place at the right time. I mean, what else is there to say about it? And we start with a heavy hitter. It's been a little bit since we added an FBS team, but this might be the most circumstantial one that we've seen in quite some time, as I got to move ourselves down here. So Brett McMurphy, I'm sure a lot of people have been talking about this over the weekend. So the Mountain West officially announcing they are joining the Mountain West as a football-only member in 2026. They're going to play a full Mountain West schedule. They're not going to be eligible for a conference title game, a bowl game, or the college football playoff until 2028. But I'm going to say this right here, right now. This has to be one of the more consequential additions that we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, this is a team that's won it. I mean, obviously the Dakotas are the crown kings of the FCS, and North Dakota State's been one of those. And I mean, yeah, they're dominant. It's gonna be it's interesting to see. Like, I wonder what their fans are thinking. I'm sure it's a lot of excitement right now. It's a lot of hype around it. But I wonder if in like 5 to 6 years they're going to be looking back, wishing that they could be winning these FCS championships again. Or are we going to be talking about them as a contender, as one of the best G5 teams in the country, and watching them get to run at a playoff, at an actual CFP playoff in the FBS? It's going to be crazy to tell, but I'm excited and pumped to watch them. Now I got a bucket list, got to get to the Thunderdome, got to get to a game there in person. So that's going to be a must for me moving forward here. So can't wait.
And I have to say, it was really surprising to me that the Pac-12 didn't jump on the opportunity to add North Dakota State. I mean, think about the current structure of that conference, right? If you really sit down and look at every single member of the Pac-12, they all have states in their last name, right? When you're thinking about Texas State or Oregon State or Washington State or Boise State, they all have states. I mean, North Dakota State fits the fold perfectly. So truly a missed opportunity. It does make me wonder if we do end up seeing the Pac-12. Do they answer in kind? Do they go after an Idaho of all things, get them back into the FBS fold so that they have a dome of their own? I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of domino effects happen with North Dakota State joining the FBS ranks.
Yeah, no doubt. They need to. It's crazy to me. Like, I feel like the Pac-12. I mean, people that miss Pac after dark, or all that stuff. I hate that we don't have that anymore. Like, I love it when they were a Power 5 conference, when there was a Power 5 conference, and when they were one of the big boys, and when they were competing. This was just a missed opportunity. I mean, that's the only way you can say it, because they have a team with a good fan base, a team that's been winning championships, 10 FCS titles in total, which is crazy. And they just missed the opportunity just to get them in. And also, NDSU had to pay the MWC $12 million. They just missed out on just pure revenue right there in general. So yeah, I think that it's not a good move by the Pac. It's obvious that whoever's leading that just needs to move on, and they need to get some new fresh blood in there to get some life in that conference, honestly.
No, listen, I've heard this phrase said quite often for generations that like a little bit younger than me and you are, but I believe like the phrase that you're looking for is it time for the Pac-12 commissioner to put the fries in the bag?
I think it is. I mean, just the way that they missed on the whole thing that happened. They missed the TV deals. They were behind the curve, and obviously now they've got two teams in there. And obviously they're trying to rebuild the conference, and there's a lot of noise around that. But this was an easy addition, just an easy. Hey, we got NDSU, a team that's a championship winner. We can market this like nobody else. And they just missed it. I don't even know if they didn't try or what happened. How does the MWC take that away from the Pac? Doesn't make any sense to me, but here we are and still talking about it.
Yeah, and here we are. We're talking about a real possibility when the Mountain West schedule comes out, which is something that we're definitely going to talk about when that finally does come out. Probably looking at like a late February, early March timeframe, depending on who else they decide to add. We're talking about North Dakota State playing Hawaii at 2:00 in the morning. I mean, if that does not hit like crack cocaine, then I truly don't know what is. And I'll say this too about North Dakota State. This is a team where if you lived during the height of the Nick Saban Alabama dynasty that we saw in the late 2000s through much of the 2010s, if you got fatigued, seeing Alabama constantly dominate, I mean, North Dakota State took that and then ranched it up multiple levels, because North Dakota State, I mean, 10 FCS titles in 15 years, AT.
Right. Unbelievable. It doesn't even sound realistic. It sounds like we're talking about somebody in a video game right now or something. They were just absolutely dominant. Absolutely dominant.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely dominant. I mean, it sounds like we're talking about like someone's EA college football dynasty. And even then, like I've seen some of you cats try to play EA college football. Like y'all can't replicate what North Dakota State did in the last 15 years. I'm sorry. Like it just cannot happen.
The crazy thing is there's teams, if we went with I don't know if you guys are familiar with how European soccer works, but they have relegations and they have promotions. And so the lower league teams get promoted up. The worst teams get relegated down. That'd be a heck of a system. I think it would be awesome. There are teams that would get relegated from the FBS to the FCS, and they still wouldn't have the same level of competition, and they definitely wouldn't win 10 FCS titles in 15 years like NDSU did. So this is not just a really good FCS team. This is a good football team, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's a football team that we, whenever they are playing the big boys, I mean, they're always giving the big boys a harder time. I mean, I remember in the mid 2010s, they went into the house of, I believe, a ranked Iowa team, a very good football team in its own right. They beat them in Kinnick Stadium, which is an underrated environment. And then even the last couple of years, even in this NIL era, I mean, they gave a good Arizona team. They took them to the wire, and then the Colorado team that we saw, I think, be on the verge of winning the Big 12 a couple of years ago. That team, North Dakota State, almost went in and beat them too. So if there was a promotion relegation system like this, not only was this a team that would have stayed in the FBS ranks so much longer, we might even be talking about them in a power conference by now if we had a proper promotion relegation system. But the American mind simply cannot comprehend like promotion and relegation. It has to live in like European soccer.
Yeah, I think it's the coolest system ever, personally. I think it's so cool because it gives those smaller programs, those FCS programs, or those Division II, whatever you want to call it, the minor leagues, it gives them a chance, something to really aim for. But then it also gives those teams that are just at the bottom of the barrel, those bad teams, it gives them something to fight for too, because you don't want to get relegated. I think it's a heck of a system. I don't know how you implement it in college football with 137 FBS teams now. And I don't even know how many FCS schools there are. That's probably bad, but it's quite a few. So it'd be tough. But at the end of the day, I'm super excited for NDSU to step up, and I'm really hoping they compete day one. I think it's a travesty that they can't go to a bowl game. I don't think they can compete in conference title either, which really good chance they could win it year one, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's a crazy part in all of this. I pulled up Bill Connolly's final SP plus rankings, really a gold standard in terms of like power ratings. Because what he does is he really takes a look at not only every FBS and FCS team, he takes a look at every Division II, Division III, and like I believe some NAIA schools like thrown in there too. It's a very comprehensive list. Very good follow, and Bill Connolly definitely recommend. And North Dakota State is power rated as the 65th best team in the entire country. They're around teams like a Boise State, for example, who did end up going and winning the Mountain West. And they're now in the Pac-12, and they have a real chance of going to win the Pac-12. They're also around some other schools like Hawaii. Hawaii's in the same conference. The only team that, like in the SP Plus rankings at the end of the year, where they're going to look at in the Mountain West that is going to be reasonably favored is UNLV. And even then, UNLV is going to have some questions. So there absolutely is a world where if they were allowed to compete for their title game, which according to Brett McMurphy, it seems like they're not allowed to do, at least for the first couple of years, they actually could walk into this conference and win the Mountain West title. That's not that crazy of a statement to make.
It's not a crazy statement at all. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, USF is kind of a clear favorite G5 team for me right now. It wouldn't surprise me if we're talking about NDSU in the next couple seasons. Obviously, they got money. I mean, they spent upwards of $17 million to join the FBS, so it's not like they're lacking funds out there. If they can spend and get the right guys in, and this is a heck of a marketing opportunity for them too. They can capture this and just really talk about championship, and it puts them on the map, puts MWC, the Mountain West on the map. It does everything that they want it to do. And if they can compete and win games, winning the MWC is, I think, the first step they'll take. And then after that, you're going to have Power 4 teams, Power 4 conferences begging to get them in there because they can spin, and I bet they're going to generate revenue too. It's a heck of a story, and everybody loves a good story.
Yeah, and I will say, because I saw that we had a lot of discourse when James Madison made the jump, I believe in around like 2021, 2022 timeframe, where James Madison was genuinely in a position to, be one of those best like group of 6 teams. And at the time, it was a 14 playoff, so the G6 was going to be anointed a New Year's 6 spot. So James Madison, they were ultimately left out because of that 2-year window. And I don't know what you think about this rule, AT. I think it's the dumbest rule in the book when it comes to teams moving up, right? Because I understand if you're moving downward, like St. Francis, like in PA, they're moving down from the FCS down to Division III. I understand that 2-year rule in place because you're coming in with Division I resources and you're moving down a level. But if you're moving up and you prove right away that you're able to compete why do you need to wait a couple of years? They should be given the opportunity to compete.
I agree. I think it's stupid because I mean you're really you should not be able to compete. The whole thing is NDSU should come in and the whole if they do go and dominate the MWC, it kind of looks bad for the FBS programs. Like these teams should be able to win against FCS schools. So yet again, everybody loves a good story. The best story ever would be for a dominant FCS school to come in here and then dominate the FBS, dominate their conference, go win the conference. I mean, who wouldn't tune into that? Who wouldn't want to watch that at the end of the season? I know I would, but I watch all college football anyway, so I might not be the guy to judge that because I'm going to watch it regardless. But there would be so many people, so many eyes on that, and it would just generate so much good news for the sport, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. You know, maybe I'm not the right person to say is like I will sit down and watch like a 3-8 MAC team. I'll like take on like UMass. I'm sorry that UMass had to take a parting shot. You know, they're like a lot of like good friends that I interact with like on Twitter that are a part of that UMass fan base. But I mean, I will certainly sit down and watch it. That's for sure. But yeah, it's one of the stupidest rules in the book in my eyes. I wish they would get rid of it. I understand why it's there. But at the same time, it's one of the crazy rules. Although I will say, though, I wonder what kind of cascading effect it's going to cause in terms of really what the Missouri Valley is. You know, because for me, the traditional school of thought and a very popular school of thought was if North Dakota State was ever going to move up, it was going to be with a combination of some of the Dakota schools, notably South Dakota State, which is a really good program in its own right. So I'm curious to see if we see some of those Dakota schools move up. Do we see the Montanas and Montana States of the world move up? Sacramento State is literally trying to bribe their way in.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I was under the same impression. I thought if they moved up, then you would either see a team like a UMass, yet again, not trying to throw shots at a UMass. I thought it would kind of be like an interchange there where we had somebody step down, somebody come up, or we brought 2 or 3 or 4 teams up at a time, you know, to keep it at that kind of even kill across the FBS level. But I don't know. It's interesting to see. Regardless, super excited to watch them and super excited to see what they can do. Also, I just saw I have our chat pulled up here. I see where we had some questions about Jamie. Yeah, Jamie, they did. The 10 FCS titles in 15 years was something that Jake had said, and that's insane. That's what we were talking about a minute ago, how crazy it is. That's unprecedented levels of success. So,
yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see if we see anyone else being able to move up this season. I know Sacramento State, they're currently trying to buy their way in, and the MAC is showing some interest, which if you told somebody that 10 to 15 years ago, that sounds absolutely ludicrous. But in this era of college football and how conferences are structured, I'm surprised that Conference USA isn't trying to jump on Sacramento State a little bit more, given that, one, they typically have been a historical welcome mat to the FBS, and we've seen that recently with some recent additions like a Kennesaw State, like Missouri State, and Delaware as well, who came up in the last few years. And Sacramento State would also have a travel partner in New Mexico State who's still in that conference right now too.
Right. I was thinking about this kind of right before the show, and I was looking at some maps of the conferences and stuff. I think the more teams that we add out of the FCS, I think we're going to see some conference realignment here soon, where I feel like it's inevitable that some of these programs are going to end up kind of moving back towards this is what I would want. Maybe it's just a dream of mine, but I think we could see some of these conferences finally start to consolidate into the actual regions that they are, because they can make money doing that. Now, obviously your teams are going to try to get into the P4. So if whatever team can get into the P4, doesn't matter where they are, they're going to do it. But I feel like some of these smaller conferences, I'm hoping they can kind of realign a little bit and get back to the continental, at least geographically keeping them where they're supposed to be. You know, it's kind of crazy that you've got teams on the West Coast playing in a Midwestern or a Mid-Atlantic conference, but that's where we're at now. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope that we get back to that way as well, because the Sun Belt is set up extremely well. Like, I love the geographical footprint of the Sun Belt. It's set up extremely nicely. But then, you have the Conference USA, which is already almost a coast-to-coast conference with Delaware and New Mexico State. They're in two opposite sides of the country. Like, Delaware's here, New Mexico State is down in here. If the box was a was the continental United States, right?
Right.
But yeah, I hope we get to that. It's going to be really interesting to see if we have any other additions or if it's just going to be North Dakota State moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and we'll talk a little bit about SDSU with some of the questions we had because the Iowa State coach he came from there from South Dakota State. So, but it's interesting. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but I do know that we're going to be excited watching the SU. And yet again, one of the main things I'm going to be focused on is getting up there, getting to a game. Got to get in the Thunderdome. What an electric stadium! The fan base is bought in. I mean, their fan base is awesome. I mean, this is just good for college football all around. It's something that everybody can talk about. Everybody's going to be cheering for them. They're an underdog. Yet again, who doesn't love a good story? I'm pumped to watch. I'm pumped to. I'm going to be cheering for them. I mean, you might see me with some, North Dakota State gear here in the studio. So.
Yeah, for sure. And if we got enough West Coast teams making our way up, we could do what our boy Reed from Love for the Bond is mentioning down below. Bring back the WAC. I mean, that would be absolutely an electric experience. But we have a fantastic show tonight. Not only we're going to talk about those new kids on the block because we don't discriminate here on the channel. It's not just the big dogs like some of these other shows. We talk about everybody in the FBS. Everyone gets that smoke every once in a while, right? So if that sounds like a type of show that y'all want to hang out and enjoy, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're on YouTube, as well as show me some love on the other platforms. We're on Twitter right now, we're on Twitch right now, and appreciate really everyone coming in and enjoying the show right now. But Absolutely. With that being said, you ready to jump in we got some hard-hitting questions, man. Y'all came up with some good questions.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, I have some answers here. I don't even know if they're good answers, but I'm excited to get into it. So,
yeah, I mean, we certainly have some answers, whether it's a little bit on the degenerate side or not. That's still to be determined. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into two questions that we have tonight. The first question that we had, that is from College Football Daily Team at CFB Team. They asked what you expect from Iowa State in 2026 after Matt Campbell left and gutted the program on the way out. Now, when I read this question personally, I thought that was a little bit of hyperbole. I know that we typically see a lot of turn when there's a coaching change. So I went and, Redzone PI, we did some journalistic investigating. And that might actually not be an exaggeration at all.
I love it. I mean, this is a great question. Something that I honestly hadn't even thought about. You look at all these teams. I don't know if this the person that asked, I don't know if they're an Iowa State fan. I'd have to imagine that they have some ties to them. But yeah, I deep dove a little bit onto him as well. Looked at the coach and didn't know much about Jimmy Rogers, to be honest. But I am excited for him. I mean, it's tough to look at recruiting rankings right now and make that as a predictor of what they're going to do. But I don't know. It's tough to tell. I think that obviously it sucks to watch Matt Campbell leave and gut the program like that. I think Matt Campbell's a great coach. I think he had one of the coolest quarterback names in Rocco Becht in the country. I was a Rocco Becht fan simply because of that alone. I think he was a good quarterback. So it is tough to tell what their team's going to look like right now. If I'm going with just a pure, schedule, I think they're going to be about 6'6", 7'6". And I think that's kind of where they're going to be next season because they're bringing a lot of guys over from Washington State with Jimmy there. So, and that's where they were at last season, and in Washington State in the Pac-12. So,
yeah, and that Washington State team, they certainly, if there was a few bounces that went the other way, we could have been talking about Washington State being in that conversation to possibly getting a college football playoff spot with how they performed against the likes of Ole Miss. I mean, they nearly went into their building and took down Ole Miss. And that was a playoff team that went to the semifinals very close, extremely close to winning the national championship. Virginia was a top 25 team as well. They went to the ACC title. They nearly beat them on the road. And then James Madison, one of your two G5 representatives in the CFP, played them as well. Played a 4-quarter game, just couldn't quite pull it out. Yeah, we could have been talking about Washington State being a 10-win team.
Right.
And, unfortunately, the balls didn't bounce their way, but it's going to be a lot of talent that Iowa State's going to have to replace, not just Rocco Becht, They also lost a lot of their weapons in Ben Brommer and Chase Soule, as well as some key defensive pieces in Caleb Bacon. Incredible last name, by the way. Marcus Neal and Jontez Williams. It's going to be a lot of names that they're going to have to replace and guys that are going to have to step up.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they had 55 guys leave. I mean, that is the definition of gutting the roster. They added 47 in the portal, which is what you want to do. It's what you got to do at this point. But it is tough. This is just the new era of college football where, this is just part of it. Unfortunately, these guys are going to leave. Coaches are going to leave. They're going to bring their teams with them. On the flip side of this, Washington State also got their roster gutted to Iowa State. So it's like, Penn State is now Iowa State, and Iowa State is now Washington State. So, I mean, it's just kind of crazy how this is. It's really just like a revolving door of, if this coach is going here, he's going to take his players, and then somebody's going to replace him and take his players. And that's just kind of how it goes. I hope Reed is excited because, he's our big Penn State guy. So I don't know how he feels about this, but I feel like he should be pretty pumped up to get that Iowa State roster with Matt Campbell leading the helm there.
Yeah, and Reed, he hit it right on the head as well. I mean, talked about the Penn State Cyclones. I mean, we got the Iowa State Cougars, and then we have, I believe, the Washington State Jackrabbits, because I think they got their head coach from South Dakota State as well. Multiple FCS mentions here on this show. See, we talk about everybody. What can I say?
That's right. That's right.
But I'm looking at some of these additions, and there isn't any real big time additions that I think the more agnostic fan would be really excited about. But I look at the linebackers that they brought in particular, and I look at the two linebackers in particular that they brought in. Iowa State could actually mess around and quietly have one of the best linebacker duos in the Big 12 next year. You want to talk about Montrez Smith Jr., FCS All-American at Austin Peay, famously helped put Mid-Tennessee State in the blender early on in the season. They played Georgia early on in the college football season last year too. Austin Peay was the FCS sacrifice to the Georgia Bulldogs, and even then Georgia had a hard time at certain points in the game finishing drives. And it was a lot because of what Montrez Smith was doing in terms of running around on the field, and he was really a good leader of that Governor's defense last year. There's another guy that they brought in as well, Tristan Exline. No one's really talking about it right now. He's a Division II All-American from Texas Permian Basin, right? Mm-hmm. Those two guys, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but there's a potential there that they could, in fact, mess around and have one of the best linebacker duos in the country. I'm very curious to see how those two play out.
Yeah, me too. I think their defense is going to be sound. I mean, it seems like they've done a really good job getting good defensive guys out of the transfer portal. Somebody that I noticed that, honestly, I didn't even realize. I remember watching him get recruited back in the day was a Malcolm Jones, the safety that was at Jackson State last season. And I remember watching him. That was the Indiana model, as I should say it, where this guy's been in college football for 5 years now. So I mean, he's tenured. He's got a lot of snaps, he's played a lot of football. And I think, and was recruited, highly touted recruit out. He went to Michigan State, committed to Virginia Tech, then Michigan State, and kind of did all that bouncing around, ended up at Jackson State in the portal, and then now he comes back out, and I think he's going to be another day one addition for him. Somebody else that I kind of highlighted was Jordan Bailey, TCU wide receiver. Not just somebody that's just incredibly explosive for them. I mean, he is explosive with his speed and stuff. It's just not that he was just a crazy play game changer for him or anything. But I mean, I know that he was a big track star, really fast. He's been in the game for 2 or 3 years, 4 years, I think, as well. So they went and they did that Indiana model of let's go look at some guys, some two to 3 star guys, because that's what we need to get right now. And let's find guys that have been here and done this. So I feel like they've done a good job of adding where they need. And it'll be interesting to see what they do next season. I'm not expecting anything more than 6 wins, 7 max, but we'll see. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong about the Cyclones next season.
Yeah, and that was kind of where I landed. I haven't even gotten into exact record predictions. I'm not going to get into that probably until next month, but just from a pure gut check, just looking at what Iowa State lost over the course of this offseason, and then looking at what they brought in, I think the baseline in terms of expectations is, for me, if Iowa State can make it to a bowl game in year one under Jimmy Rogers, I think that would be a successful year. And that would be successful in terms of Iowa State standards. I mean, before Matt Campbell got to Iowa State, this was historically a poverty program. I mean, people forget that Matt Campbell took over a program that is not used to winning consistently.
Right.
And the fact that Matt Campbell did turn them into a consistent winner, I mean, that really speaks to how great of a coach that Matt Campbell is. And the fact that Penn State kind of fell into Matt Campbell, I mean, the Nittany Lions have to be extraordinarily lucky to have him as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think they know that too. And we've talked about Jimmy Rogers a little bit. He's got a great background. He's a proven winner in the FCS. He won a national championship at South Dakota State, another one of those Dakota teams, yet again, getting a lot of mentions tonight. But I think he was a good hire for them coming out of Washington State last season. He had them in a good spot. And recruiting is tough for the Washington States and the Iowa States of the world. And I think that he's done a good job of just maintaining. The biggest question mark, I think, for me next season for Iowa State is I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. I don't know if the starter is going to be Jalen Renor, who they brought in the portal, or if it's going to be one of those guys that stayed around. But it'll be interesting to see for sure. I don't know who's going to be
that. Yeah. So quarterback, I think is actually going to be one of those positions I think is going to be pretty fun to watch. They did bring in two quarterbacks from the transfer portal. They did bring in St. Flores from Oklahoma State. Well, won an 11 team last year. You be the judge of how you feel about St. Flores. But the other quarterback that they brought in, though, I actually really liked and I really enjoyed watching over the years. Jalen Raynor, he was a 3-year starter at Arkansas State. He started as a true freshman and started the last few years for the Red Wolves. Now, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if you're playing at the G5 level, you're playing at the Power Conference level, FCS. You could be playing club football at the college level for all I care about. If you are starting college football as a true freshman, you are that guy. And Jalen Raynor, getting him in a transfer portal, I think it's going to be an underrated pickup. Mind you, this kid nearly beat Iowa State in the fall.
Right. Yeah, very true. Very true. And he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's good. He's got all the fundamentals, all the athleticism that you want in a quarterback. And yet again, just going back to it, I know I've said it a couple of times, they're following that Indiana model. We're going to go get guys that have done this before, that have played games, that have snaps in the field. And it just makes it so much easier to get these guys in and get them acclimated. It's a lot less development. It's a lot more, hey, get to my scheme. Let's learn my scheme. Let's learn my playbook, and let's go execute. That's what they're going to be talking about in the offseason and getting prepared for, especially in spring training and stuff. It's going to be a lot more, let's just get acclimated to the playbook and what we're doing instead of, hey, we need to work on catching the ball and we need to work on throwing the ball. It's going to be more like, hey, let's just work on dialing in our fundamentals and playing sound football, which gives Iowa State a heads up. I mean, and honestly, to give them a pro here, this is a team that nobody knows anything about going into next season. We really don't know much about Jimmy Rogers as a head coach. He's only got 1 year in the FBS. We don't know anything about this team. A lot of these guys are coming out of, G5 type programs or Washington State. So I think that they could be a sleeper that people are kind of ignoring. But yet again, I'm not expecting them to win more than about 6-7 games, but we'll see. Time will tell. So
and it will be a team that I think, it would be ludicrous to say that they're going to go out and win the Big 12, but you never know because the Big 12 is just an absolutely chaotic conference year in and year out, right? But they could be the type of team where, on any given Saturday, they could, trip up, some of the Big 12 contenders over the course of the regular season and really have a substantial impact on how the playoff race shapes out in terms of, who goes to Arlington at the end of the year, as well as who ends up representing the Big 12 in the college football playoff, where it ends up being, or be just a one-team league like has been the last couple of years, or if we possibly see the Big 12 get more than a couple of teams. But it's going to be some G5 guys and some guys that are going to be swept on, such as Cody Jackson. He's an 800-yard receiver at a Tarleton State. Freshman that was very close to being a freshman All-American, for the Texans of Tarleton State. And then they also brought in Amari Hayes as well. There's going to be some weapons for Jalen Raynor to work with. The biggest question for me personally is going to be that offensive line. I am concerned about that offensive line losing multiple starters in the transfer portal, either going to Penn State or going to Nebraska. And I don't know if they did enough to replace that productivity on the offensive line.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. The O-line's always up in the air. I feel like that's what every single program is struggling with. Especially you heard Auburn, Alex Golish's head coach, literally send up prayers in his press conference to hope to God that their offensive line is doing okay. And I don't blame him. I mean, that's kind of what everybody's doing nowadays. You're sending up prayers because your depth is gone. Your depth is gone. If you don't have somebody that's starting, they're out. They're going to another program. And so it's really all about those first 5 guys that you got out there, first 5, 6 guys you got out there. And it's tough to tell. You can tell they tried to add some people. They got some, they got some big size guys here. I mean, just pulling up their sheet here, they got some 6'4", 355 guys, 6'7", 300 on the OT. I mean, they've got some size on the offensive line, but are they going to be good? And all of these guys are coming out of FCS programs or G5 type programs. So we really don't know anything about them. Yet again, I think Jimmy's done a good job of identifying what he wants. It just depends on if they've got the talent and the ability to go execute. So it's going to be exciting. Iowa State's a team to watch next year for sure, but I'm pulling for them. Hopefully they don't lose a bunch. Any of these teams that got gutted, I have a kind of a soft heart for. Them, the North Texases of the world. I really do hope they have some good seasons and can recover from what really sucks. I mean, it does suck to watch your entire team leave with their head coach. So.
It's going to be fascinating to see how the offensive line develops, not just from a talent standpoint, but really from a continuity standpoint. I mean, you want to talk about being an offensive lineman as a unit. I mean, it's all about communicating at the line of scrimmage in terms of, who's going to pick up which particular blitzer, communicating those stunts. And the offensive linemen that they did bring in, not only are they coming from FCS programs, like you mentioned, AT, they're all coming from different programs. I'm counting 6 different programs that Iowa State brought an offensive lineman from. So that's 6 different systems. That's 6 different terminologies. And they're going to all have to get on the same page because I'm assuming, at least in the early going, they're all going to get a chance to play early on. So it's going to be very important for those guys to get on the same page if that offensive line is going to go from being a question to potentially being a strength, because I think that's what could really determine what kind of season Iowa State has, is how that offensive line turns out.
No doubt. I mean, it's the biggest question mark for, yet again, every program in the country. It's just everything. I've been asked a question before: would you rather a veteran offensive line and a young quarterback, or an old old quarterback and a young offensive line? I'm going veteran offensive line every single day of the week. That changes the entire foundation of your offense. And it is going to be tough to tell what happens there. I think if they can dominate on the line, number one, they can run the ball. That means they can run the ball well. Opens up play action passing. It opens up the passing game. It does so much for your guys, and just it makes the quarterback feel safe and comfortable. Last night is a great example of that. The Super Bowl game. Drake May never felt comfortable one time, and he's a professional quarterback. He's almost won the MVP, was 1 vote away from winning the MVP. And he didn't look good until the 4th quarter when he had to throw some prayers out and still threw 2 picks because he didn't have any time to sit back and feel comfortable. I mean, it changes the entire landscape of your football team when your quarterback can chill out and relax in the pocket and make decisions. I mean, that's what you want. That's what you got to have. So, yeah, you're 100% right, Jake. The biggest question mark for them is their offensive line. So if they can do good on the offensive line, if their offensive line comes in and is dominant, might be a contender, might be a 7-8 win team at that point. I don't know. So,
yeah, and speaking of some question marks, we still have some burning questions that we need to answer here tonight. And I'll have to say this: really appreciate everyone watching, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitch, or whether it's on the Twitter platform. Listen, there is a good solid crowd here tonight. I really appreciate it. We only got 3 likes right now, and I'm asking, what are we doing here? It only takes a handful of seconds, to hit that like button. Hit subscribe if you're brand new and you're enjoying your time here on the show as well. And you see that bottom ticker as well. If you have a question for the mailbags, always like to try to do a mailbag episode every Monday. You can either send it here in the live chat and we'll pick it up, or if you're watching this after the live show actually happens, you can always comment it and then we'll answer it on a future mailbag. So we got you. Okay, if you go ahead and hit us up with those questions as well. Speaking of questions, though, we got one more tonight. This is from Coach Cam Fetty, over on the Twitter platform. And he asked, since the playoff format is facing only minor changes this offseason, I'm interested in what you guys think will be the next major change coming to playoff formatting, whether it be seeding, number of entrants, etc. It's going to be really interesting to see how things shake out moving forward with the playoff format, because we saw some minor changes. But I'm curious, AT, like, what do you think is going to be the next major change that these college football conferences actually sit back and agree on?
Yeah, I love this question, by the way. This is just one of those thought-provoking type questions. And it's tough to say. Is my answer going to be what I want, or is it going to be what I think? That's kind of where I've been fighting with myself all day. Is like, I don't know. I mean, I want the calendar to change. I don't want the 12-team playoff to change. I don't think we need 24 guys. This is not March Madness. This is college football. I think we keep those things. What I see happening inevitably is that we're going to go to at least a 16 team. I think that's going to be at least the next step they take forward, or 24 team. I think that would be the next major change that we would see happen. I don't like that. I'm not saying that I'm advocating for that. I don't think we should do that, but I think that's where we're going. If you want to say anything good about the SEC, at least thank the good Lord above that they fought the Big Ten and did not allow us to go to a 2014 playoff so early. I think that the biggest change, though, that has to happen as soon as possible is the calendar. The calendar is absolutely ridiculous right now. You've got 38 days between the first game and the championship. We're talking about playing championship games, in the middle of January, late January. I think it's like towards the end of January next year. And why do that? That can't be. It's got to be for money. Everything that they're doing, I'm guessing, is for the grabs and the clicks and the money. But to me, it just doesn't even seem like they're going to make that much more revenue if we just tighten the calendar up some. So I don't know what major changes are coming. I think that whatever major changes do come, I'm probably not going to be happy with, because I feel like that's kind of been the case here recently with NCAA. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know what to expect, and I don't know if I like that either. So.
Yeah, and that's it sucks that we're kind of in this holding pattern of waiting to see what is to come, because what we've seen, I think, over the last few years is whatever the fans want. Think of the opposite, and that's usually the direction in which these conferences go into. Listen, I know we've only had some minor changes to the format this year in terms of going from just the top 5 conference champions getting in to now the power conferences, they're always going to be guaranteed a playoff spot, which is really fascinating that they quickly closed that loophole from a 1 in 100 chance. I mean, think about it. Like, what are the odds that a 7-5 football team makes it to the conference championship and wins their conference championship, right? I mean, that's something that is just a 1 in 100 possibility, in the power conference ranks. And so instead of looking themselves in the mirror and asking themselves, hey, maybe we should take a look at, I don't know, the size of our conference, or, oh, I don't know, here's a good one, AT. How about we check out the tiebreakers, make sure our tiebreakers actually make sense. Right. It sucks that I have to kind of gentle parent these people into doing the sensible thing. But instead, they go that round in terms of, instead of top 5 conference champions, we're just going to give these power conferences an automatic spot no matter what happens, and no matter what they did in the regular season, which is kind of against the spirit of the game, right? Because you're saying that no matter what I do in the regular season, I could absolutely bomb my non-conference play. But you're saying I do well enough still in conference play, and even not even go undefeated. There's still a world where a 6-6 football team makes it to a conference championship game and winning. You're telling me that a 7-6 conference champ should be playing for the playoff automatically?
Yeah, I don't buy that. It's going completely. I remember when we had 4 teams in. When it was 4 teams in, it was all about, we're going to put the best 4 teams in. Nothing else matters. The system has completely flipped from that now. Now it's like, we're going to make a bunch of rules, and we're going to let Notre Dame get in if they've got, if they're a top 12 team, and we're going to do all these different. It's hard to keep up with, first off. Second off, it doesn't really make any sense. Are we not trying to make the playoff the best teams in the country playing against each other? Now, I am all for G5 getting a bid in, so that's that might be a little bit against my argument there, because I know that a lot of people want the G5 to have their own playoff, and a lot of people think they can't compete. I think that it's inevitable that one of these days there's going to be a G5 team that breaks in and makes a run for it, and everybody's going to be talking about it. It will happen. I don't know when, but it will happen. And so I do like them getting a bid into the playoff. I think that gives them something to play for. But yeah, the point you made there, Duke would have been in the playoff this season over Miami. And that just does not make any sense at all. Miami was one of the best teams in the country. They just didn't win. They just lost 2 ACC games. And all of a sudden you're telling me that they're going to be out of the playoff for a team that went 7-5. A good Duke football team, an ACC champion Duke football team, but not a Duke football team that deserved to be in a playoff. And that's just the bottom line.
No, and I think it's going to be important as well moving forward that the G5 does at least have an auto bid, because I've seen the argument now that we had the 12-team playoff for a couple of years now, where instead of us having these auto bids, why don't we just do what we did back when we had the 14 playoff and just go 1 through 12 straight up and take them into the college football playoff? And then the argument that I've seen is, well, if these G5 teams schedule up and they perform well in these games, then they shouldn't have a problem getting into the top 12. But what we have seen in terms of scheduling is, these power conference teams, they're not going to go out of their way to schedule the best G5s. And I understand where the power conference teams are going to come from a sense of, if I'm a power conference team and I schedule a really good G5, I don't get much of a benefit if I win that game. But if I lose that game, that's going to be more of a hit to my resume. So I understand where they're coming from, but these, really good G5s, which again, schedules are set in place years in advance,
right?
Most of the time. They don't have the pathway to be able to actually have, the resume, so to speak, to be top 12 straight up. So I think those auto bids are going to be really important moving forward.
No, you're 100% right. And I understand both sides. Like Power 4 teams, especially now the SEC and the Big Ten and all these other conferences are going to 9 conference games a year. If I'm a head coach or an athletic director, there is no way in hell that I'm going to pick good out of conference teams. I'm just not going to do it. I think Ohio State and Texas playing this year is dumb. Am I going to watch it? Am I going to love watching it? Are a lot of people going to tune in? Is it going to be a huge revenue generator? Absolutely, to all those things. And I'm going to watch every second of that game and can't wait for that game. But if I was a fan of one of those teams, I would be so angry that we even scheduled that, because we have got to go play 9 of really, really good football teams that are trying to kill us and trying to get to the conference championship. There's just no reason to schedule outside of that. And so, yeah, it's to your point. It's going to be really tough for these G5 teams to compete. There's got to be some level of, I don't know, I don't want to use the word parity, but there's got to be some level of incentive for these guys to go and challenge big programs, and the big programs to challenge these G5 teams, because it's exactly what you said. If a G5 team beats a P4 program, their stock went up 100-fold. But if a P4 team loses to any G5 team, their stock went down 100-fold. And so it's the risk to the reward for the P4 teams. It's just not there. It's just not there. I would rather go schedule UMass and, those guys like that. Sorry for the shots at UMass tonight, but they had a rough year. So.
Man, what do we do to hurt the Minutemen, man? Like, they just taking shot after shot tonight. No Diddy. But yeah, it's but in terms of like what I think in terms of what that next major change is coming, so I kind of want to look at it from both a short-term basis and a long-term basis. I think that, I don't know if this is not necessarily what I would want, but this is what I think is going to happen. I think in the short term, what we're going to see what the SEC is proposing and what many of the other conference commissioners and Notre Dame is also proposing as well, which is expand to 16 teams and keep the 5 auto bids, but instead of having 7 at-large teams, you have the 11 at-large teams instead. That's what I think is going to happen. But in order for us to get there, I think we're going to see a compromise between the SEC and the Big Ten, because those are the 2 conferences that actually control our playoff format right now, where we do see that 2014 playoff that you're talking about. And it's not just the 2014 playoff that you're thinking about from like the FCS playoff format, where it's 1 auto bid for each conference, and then it's the rest of the field's filled out by at-large teams, that would make too much sense, AT. So what do we do instead? We're going to have 4 auto bids for the Big Ten, and then 4 auto bids for the rest of these power conferences. We'll have 2 auto bids for the G5, and then the rest is filled out from at large. I think it's ludicrous, but I think that's what we're going to eventually see, where in a few years we'll see probably that 16-team format that the SEC is proposing. But then I think, by 2035, we're going to see a 24-team playoff.
Yeah, I think it's coming. I think for whatever reason, they think they can make a bunch more money doing that. And that's the problem right now, is that money's running the sport. I think, I hope we can continue to keep private equity and big business out of it, but it's just inevitable that they're going to get involved, and there's going to be billions of dollars running there, and it's running like a business now. And I get the argument all the time of like, this is how businesses are done, and this is how things are done. And, you don't understand finances and stuff like that. And it's not that. I get that these are business decisions that are being made, but we forget that this is college athletics. This is not business. This is not the NFL. This is not a for-profit. These are not supposed to be for-profit. This is not supposed to be run for-profit. These are universities that are there to educate. That's what they're there for. We just get blessed that they have college football that's chaotic and fantastic and the feeder for the NFL, and we get to watch that and enjoy it. And I understand that ESPN and all those guys that are making money and make the sport grow and give me the eligibility to watch it. I understand that they have to make money, but it just ruins what we love about the sport at the end of the day. And it's just an interesting thought. I don't know what's going to happen. And in the backwards minds of the committee, it's kind of what we were talking about. You don't want to schedule out of conference teams, but really good out of conference teams, because you don't want your stock to drop. In their mindset, when they do when they say, well, if you win your championship, if you win the conference, you get an auto bid, they're basically trying to tell you that your out of conference games don't even matter in the first place. And so that's why they're really wanting you to schedule good out of conference games, because even if you lose that game, as long as you win the title, it doesn't matter. And they just want revenue. They don't care where it comes from or who it comes from. So they want these SEC schools to challenge Big Ten schools in the year so that they can generate a lot of eyes to the sport. And they're trying to sell that as that game doesn't even matter, because as long as you win your conference championship, you're going to be in the finals, in the playoff. And I just think it's kind of backwards, to be honest. But
yeah, and the metaphor that I always like to make myself is the poisoning of the river, right? Where we are starting to see like college football in popularity, particularly in the last 5 years, really start to explode to a point where, hey, maybe it's more realistic for college football to directly challenge the NFL on certain days. And that's the benefit of some decent decision making that we saw, 10 to 15 years ago. Many of the decisions that we're seeing today is not going to hurt college football today, the same way as if you put poison in the river today, the river is not going to become undrinkable overnight, right? You're not going to feel those effects downstream. Like if I live like in top of Mississippi, right, and I put poison in the Mississippi River, you're not going to feel it down in the lower part of the river basin until a much larger amount of time passes. But then by then, like once people notice that there is, poison in the river, then it's too late to do anything about it. So we're not there yet in terms of, the river being too poisoned. But if we're not careful, we could see some truly irreversible effects that you're referring to. But I don't even have a problem with the 2014 playoff. I really don't. I would prefer that we stay at 12. I think 12 is the perfect amount for right now. I think we've had some good playoffs at 12, but if we were going to go to 24, I would not do it the way that the Big Ten does. I would do the FCS format, where there's at least less auto bids to go around, and then there's more emphasis on that non-conference to help you get those non-conference bids.
I agree. I mean, and I think the FCS does a lot of things well, and it's obvious that they implement them in the FCS to see how it works, to bring it into the FBS level. That's kind of how it's always been. FCS had playoffs first, and we brought it, and so I get that and I understand it. It's just, like you said, I think the 12 team's perfect right now. And if I was going to do the 2014 playoff, I would do it exactly like the FCS done. Let's get some good guys in here. I do like if you win a conference championship, If there's 24 teams in the playoff, you win a conference championship, you deserve to be in. And then let's put the best teams in there. And they're going to fight it out. They're going to compete. And at that point, there's going to be one guy left standing. The only thing that I guess I kind of have a problem with is that in this sport particularly, it is so incredibly hard to win playoff games week in and week out. It's your injuries mean everything. There's the depth is not there. If somebody gets hurt, an offensive lineman gets hurt, your whole team is done. Like we were talking about at the beginning, the cadences, the communications between somebody, you lose one guy, it's done because you don't have that depth that you used to. And so I think a lot of cases, there's going to be a lot of teams that might be the legitimate best team in the country. They could play everybody else again 100 times and they would win it 100 times in a row. And they're going to lose one game. They're going to lose one playoff game in a 24-team or 16-team metric, and we just don't get to see the best two in the national championship. I think we see some of that now with the 12-team, but yet again, that's just part of it. I mean, it is part of it. If you want to win a national championship, you got to be ready week in and week out, especially when you get to the CFP. So that's kind of one issue I guess I do have with the 2014 playoff is I feel like we're going to have more injuries, less time for these guys to get prepared for games. But at the end of the day, it would be more football at the end of the season. I'm always down for that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to go down the path of like, oh, it's more football. Surely you can't be mad about more football. Because that's a popular argument that I've seen and listen, like if you want to go with the more football argument, I mean, Division III, like they do a 40-team playoff, right? You're like, I don't think we should do a 40-team playoff. That would be ludicrous. But I mean, like if you're really about the more football crowd, I mean, the Division III football playoff would be more your speed. I know that we could genuinely go probably an hour plus just talking about what we can do to fix the sport, and we're gonna save that aspect for a different day when we have more of our crew here just talking about what we would do to fix the sport. But in the meantime, guys, I really do appreciate everyone coming through on the stream tonight on this Monday night. You guys make my day so much better, just being able to talk ball. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube, or do the equivalent of that on Twitch and Twitter. I don't know what that is. Hit the follow button, I guess. We drop some spicy things on Twitter. But man, AT, really appreciate you having on the show. You got anything to tell the people and where they can find you?
Man, yeah, come check us out on Twitter, Tampa2_CFB. I'm on YouTube as well. Same exact moniker there. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. This is why we do it. You make it fun to do. The questions are the best part of the show, right? I mean, when we get to answer questions that you guys have, makes me think about the sport that I love so much. It makes me get into it a little bit more. So I love it. Excited about it. Can't wait to talk more football with you, Jake, moving forward this year.
Yeah, and speaking of those questions, if you do have a question for us, whether you're watching it live right now or whether you're watching it after the fact, and you're trying to get caught up, make sure you either hit us up in that live chat or, if you're watching after the fact, hit us in the comment section, because we do read those and we do answer them every Monday. But hey, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna sign off here. Glad to be joined by AT over in Tampa 2 college football. Hopefully you guys are all out there having a good night. Take care, everybody.
Peace.